Welcome to the Rusted Garden. I'm going to show you how to plant peas in a 5-gallon container. If you don't have a garden or you don't have the space for a garden, you can grow many vegetables in containers, but you definitely can grow peas. And you can also grow peas in the spring, and you can plant them again mid-August and have a fall crop of peas. This container is a 5-gallon container. It's a paint bucket, which you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's. It costs you about somewhere between $3 and $3.50. You can get a bag of Miracle Grow or similar soil. You should get garden soil that has some nutrients in it. Usually they put in Miracle Grow or some other sort of fertilizer. That bag will cost you $4 to $5. You also need peas. Peas cost you $1 or $2 a pack. You can get a snow pod type pea, which you harvest the pod and you eat the pod and the peas and everything together. Or you can get your standard peas, which you let get fat, and then you harvest the peas out of the pod. First thing that you need to do is about 2 inches high, put a hole in your container. You can use a knife with this plastic. It's very soft. Just a small hole, and that's to let the water drain out after a storm or after it rains. To prepare your peas, you want to put them in a bowl with some water and let them sit in there about a half an hour, and they'll absorb water, and that'll just give them a little bit of a jump start. The soil, again, is any bag variety soil. You don't want to get topsoil. You don't want to get a cheap $2 bag. You want to get something that is made just for this. Just dump it in. Put enough in to get you to about an inch from the top. Break up the clumps, shake it a little bit, let it settle down. You can see the soil's about an inch from the top. Bang it a little bit and let it firm up. You don't want to plant peas in very loose soil where there's a chance for them to drop down further than the 2 inches that they're supposed to be planted at. If you need a little more soil, just add it in. And then in the container, you can put anywhere from 4 to 8 plants. If you put in 8 plants, you need to make sure you water them more regularly. You should also fertilize your container peas or container vegetables about every 10 days with half strength water-soluble fertilizer like Miracle Grow or something along those lines. So once you have the soil in, you're just going to make 4 holes. You want to be about 2 inches deep. And in each hole, you're going to place 2 peas. Once the peas are in, put a handful of soil in, cover up the holes. Now there are 8 peas in here. If all 8 come up, you have 2 choices. You can leave all 8 in and make sure that you water it and fertilize it regularly, and you will have to do it more often than if you just leave 4 peas in. Or you can pinch off the weakest looking pea and just leave 1 pea plant per hole, and that would be 4 peas. The other thing you need is a tomato cage or bamboo stakes or something for them to climb up on. That's it. You got peas in a bucket. They'll mature. Actually, let's take a look. They'll mature probably in 45 to 60 days, 65 days. In about 14 days, you should see the peas come up. In about 28 days, they should be about this high, and then in 65 days, you'll have peas up to the top of the trellis, and you'll be able to harvest them. How they've grown over the last 5 to 7 weeks. These are container peas that I planted in March, late March, and I basically put in anywhere from 3 to 5 peas into the containers. These are my containers that overwintered. You also see lettuce that I planted, some greens that overwintered, but I did plant the peas end of March, and they're ready to harvest. You can see several peas in this container. It's supported by the tomato cages. By the time these peas die out, the tomatoes will be ready for the cages, so you can reuse those. I also have a structure made out of bamboo to make a TP supports for the peas. But you can just see all the peas that are ready. When you harvest a pea, make sure you just break the tip off this part with your fingernail. If you tug on peas, you're going to break the plant. The plant is hollow, so they're very, very fragile. So just grab the tip of the pea that's attached to the stem and break it off. And you can see all the peas that are on here. Peas grow great in containers. Here's a large pea. And there's probably, you know, 30, 40 peas ready all over the place. And you can see them growing everywhere. I do have two types. I have the edible pea pod and the standard pea. And you can see these containers, a couple 5-gallon buckets. But these containers mostly were planted towards the end of March. It's May 21st now. Coming around the back, you can see the 5-gallon buckets. These are the peas that I planted for the video. And you can see the plants are smaller, and that's probably because in there I have, in the center plant here, I think I have 8 peas planted. Same with this one. But you can see there's plenty of peas. These are the edible pea pods. And they're just packed full of peas. These aren't quite as big. They were planted after the peas that I just showed you, but there's a lot of pods that are ready. Again, they're supported with the wire cage, and you can just see all the peas that are ready. Now, one of the things I talked about is if you put, you can put anywhere from really 3 peas to 8 peas in a 5-gallon bucket. But if you put in more plants like I do, you can see the dried out leaves in there. That's because I did forget to water it for a day. The bucket did dry out and it did harm the plant. Now, these peas aren't as large as the ones I showed you up there on my deck. And you have to do a little bit of math. If you put, for instance, in a 5-gallon bucket, you put in 4 pea plants, and those 4 pea plants tend to grow larger, and say they produce 100 peas each, 100 pea pods. You get 400 peas. If you put 8 plants in that only grow 70 pods per plant, and the plants are smaller, yeah, they are smaller, but you do end up with 8 times 7, 560 pods of peas versus 400. So there's a balance somewhere between the number of peas that you put in the pot, in the container, and let that plant grow to full size, to kind of crowding the plants in there, yet still getting a yield or a harvest it's greater than maybe putting 3 or 4 peas in there. Now, that was a lot to say. I'm going to go over it real quick as I eat this pea pod. The other thing is I planted some peas directly in the ground, so by the time I eat all those, the peas along this fence will be blooming, and I can pick those in probably 3 or 4 weeks. I'm back up here to the container peas on the deck. These are a little bit stronger. So just to recap, a little bit bigger, is if you put fewer peas in a 5-gallon container, the plants will get bigger, taller, and produce more peas. However, if you crowd more peas into the container, the plants will be smaller. The plants won't yield as much per plant, but the overall yield will be greater than a couple of plants. If you enjoyed this video, please check out my blog at www.therustedgarden.blogspot.com. Thanks.